Hey, everybody. This is Chris.
And Kathy.
We wanted to take a minute to thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate every listener and are grateful for this platform.
Please help us share our vision by subscribing to our show through your favorite streaming app. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Petability Podcast.
Check out our ever-growing list of affiliates and sponsors. Simply go to the show notes for information and links.
And be sure to use our promo code PETPOD22, that's PETPOD 22, on checkout to receive your discount from our affiliates. And now, here's a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Alon Landa, CEO of Medcovet, and I'm a proud sponsor of Petability. We decided to partner with Chris and Kathy because, like them, we want to empower all pet owners who are trying to do the most for their pets. At Medcovet, we specialize in advanced home laser therapy for pets. Laser therapy is a safe and effective treatment for common conditions like arthritis and wounds, and it relieves pain for most conditions caused by inflammation. With Medcovet, pet owners can perform this treatment at home while receiving support from experienced clinicians. If you think your pet would benefit from healing at home, visit medcovet.com, and one of our clinical experts will work with you to determine if home laser therapy is the right fit for you and your pet. Tell them Petability sent you.
Think that there may be a misconception that rats don't make good pets, but that's not true. They make wonderful pets.
Welcome to Petability. I'm your host, Kathy Simon, certified veterinary technician and certified canine rehabilitation practitioner.
And I'm your host, Chris Cranston, licensed physical therapist and small animal physical rehabilitationist.
Our podcast provides interviews and information to help your pets live their best lives.
Hello, Kathy. How are you?
Hello, Chris. I'm doing all right over here today. What have you got going on?
You know, this is a special show because we are interviewing a young lady named Kylie Wilson about rats, her pet rats, and all about the care, why she loves them, what makes them good pets, and so on.
I think Kylie is, I'm going to call her the rat expert here. She knows her topic. And I'm really excited about this. As I think that there may be a misconception that rats don't make good pets, but that's not true. They make wonderful pets. And Kylie's going to tell us all about that. So I'm pro rat. I've even done rehabilitation with a few rats.
You
not
have?
many, but not many, but two. I can think of two right now. And they were wonderful.
What was their issue, Kathy?
Sadly, I mean, they both recovered. I don't want anybody to be upset. They both recovered, but they got accidentally stepped on.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. But they recovered. They did great. They recovered. They're very resilient and they did very well with their rehab.
And I'm so jealous of you, Kathy, because you have seen a lot of different species of animals over the years. I mean, birds, guinea pigs, rabbits. The list goes on and on.
Well, I know you would agree with this. They all deserve this type of treatment, right? Across the board. So your rats, your guinea pigs, your chickens. I love rehab with chickens and ducks and so forth. And the principles of rehabilitation apply to those animals as well. You just need to have the right motivation for the rat. You got to have a good piece of food, something that they really enjoy to get them motivated.
So back to Kylie. I mentioned she is a young lady. Kylie is 11 years old. A good friend of mine is her great aunt. Her aunt's name is Janet. And Janet's like, you should think about having Kylie on your show. And I'm like, okay, why? And she goes, she has rats. And I'm like, yes, please. And we purposely named the show Petability, not canine ability or feline ability, but petability, because we wanted to touch on all pets. We've interviewed people about pigs, fish, a tortoise named Ethel, rabbits.
Yeah, the rabbit show was a two-parter.
And so anytime we get the opportunity to, talk to somebody about the care of an animal, a pet that is not so common, is a gift. So I really, really appreciate Kylie taking the time after school on a Friday evening to tell us about rats and, all the things like I mentioned before, like, why did she get rats and what does it take to care for them? And do they have personalities and all that good stuff? So without further ado, I would like to introduce Kylie Wilson. Welcome to Petability, Kylie. We're so happy to have you.
Welcome, Kylie.
Thank you.
So Kylie, let's get into it. Why did you want a rat?
Because I used to have 2 guinea pigs and they sadly passed away. Then after the guinea pigs passed away, we got 2 cats. The guinea pigs used to snuggle with me, but they were my best buddies. And then the cats, they're not much, when we first got them, they weren't much of snugglers. They kind of just wanted to be left alone. And I wanted a snuggle buddy. So start fostering kittens to see if we could find a kitten that would be my snuggle buddy. Or if I wanted to get rats because she had heard of rats. And
This was your mom's idea? That's amazing.
Yeah.
Kylie, I understand that rats are very social creatures. Is that true?
Yes.
Do you think that you owning more than one rat is a good idea? If you have one rat, should you maybe have a companion for that rat?
Definitely. You should have 2 or more rats at a time because they need like somebody to play with. Like when you're not around to play with them, they need somebody that they can play with. So that's why it's a great idea.
So they are social. You know, I didn't really realize that.
My rats actually love snuggling with each other. I come into my room sometimes where their cages and I find them like just snuggling in their bed together.
That's very cute.
All in one bed, and I just see 4 heads on top of each other.
That's really cute.
Well, Kylie, we would love it if you could send us some pictures or video of your rats that we could put on our social media channels. That would be amazing. So people could see, you know, what their personalities are like and what they look like and so forth.
Yeah.
So, you know, you mentioned that you owned guinea pigs before. How would you say that having rats compares with guinea pigs?
The main difference, I think, would be the rats. They're this might just be to have to do with their age, because when we first got the guinea pigs, they were already pretty old. They were like maybe about 5 years old already or something. So they were already really calm and snuggly. But the rats, and since we got them when they were babies, they're very energetic and playful. So that's a pretty big difference.
So how old are your rats now? And how many do you have, Kylie?
4 rats. They're still really playful, love playing with each other. They like wrestle.
Do you ever have to worry about them hurting each other?
Not really. I trust them. But one time, I think it was during the cleaning of the cage, we have to keep them in a separate little carrier. And at the time, we only had 1 since they were still pretty small. But now they've gotten bigger, so we have 2. But one time, I had all 4 rats in one crate. One of my rats got a little scratch on his back because I think they were playing a little too hard, or maybe they felt a little crowded. So
I think rats are extremely intelligent in that they're sort of, not only are they social, but they like to look at your facial expressions. They like things like mazes and games and training tricks. Would you agree with that, Kylie?
I think so. Going back to the guinea pigs, you can't really teach them things. Like you can't teach them sit, stay, like you can a dog and stuff like that. But you can potty train them. And that is also the same with rats.
Yeah.
Rats are way more frequently potty trained. I got 2 litter boxes. We don't use them anymore because they found a corner of their cage that they really like to pee in. So they either, like I just said, they find a spot to that, especially the pee in. They like to find a spot to pee in, especially. But if you get a litter box or find a specific spot in the cage you want them to specifically go to the bathroom most in, obviously they can have accidents around the house and stuff, but they're more likely to go in that corner. If you want them to poop in a certain spot every day or 2, you would find their poops and stuff around the cage and collect them all in a scoop or something, and then pour it into where you want them to go to the bathroom in, and then they'll start associating, finding, noticing all their poops have been moved to a specific spot. So they'll just start going there because they know that's where you want them to go.
That is pretty smart that they make the association. You know what I'm saying? They're like, okay, this is the bathroom. And I think we talked initially when we opened the show up with the fact that I think there was a misconception about rats and not making good pets, but rats are actually very clean. Can we talk a little bit about how you house them and how much room they need and how often do you have to clean them?
I actually have a specific cage that I really like for them, and it's called the Critter Nation Double Cage, and it can house up to like around 7 smaller female rats, since females tend to be more small, but smaller female rats, it can hold up to about 7 of them. And the length is 24 inches, the width is 63 inches, and the height is 63 inches as well.
Wow.
So it is pretty big and spacious. So it's plenty of room for all 4 of my buddies.
Sometimes I see, like in the big box pet stores and things like that, they're different animals, hamsters and guinea pigs. And if there are rats, I typically don't see rats there, but they're not in cages. They're in like a glass aquarium type thing.
I've seen it in pet stores, and they have these guinea pig cages. They're very small, and I hate that because my 2 guinea pigs, it took up a bunch of space on our floor, and they need plenty of room. And I never recommend cages from pet stores because they always make them really, really small and don't give the animals enough room. We got the Critter Nation Double Cage online.
You must have done a lot of research to know what you needed before you even got your rats. I think with any pet, right, we need to do our research. I remember, I'm just going to tell a little story here. I thought, I'm going to go get a fish, right? How hard can that be? And after spending about an hour and a half with the person, I was like, I can't do it. It was so much more husbandry, I guess we call it, but care, cleaning the tank, the type of food, what fish can go together, blah, blah, blah. I was completely overwhelmed. And, I think with any animal, a good piece of advice is that do your research in advance to really know what is involved. So tell us how you learned about your rats and what you needed to do in advance.
Well, I did a lot of researching, and my mom also did plenty of researching. She sent me a couple of links to sites that I could go to find, hey, what type of food that's really healthy and good for them, and how often you need to clean their cages and how big their cages need to be and stuff like that. So it was plenty of research. I'd say it took me a couple months to do all that research. When you get rats, most people don't think they're very healthy, but they're really healthy and clean, and as well as long as you get them from a reputable breeder and reputable places, because most people see them at pet stores, and those ones have a lot of health problems.
As a lot of animals in pet stores can,
Yeah.
So I remember, because I didn't share this story in our introduction, but when Janet and I first talked about having you come on our show, on our podcast, she actually did a little faux video asking you questions with your family members. And I was stunned because, Kylie, you said you got your rats from a rattery, and I've never even heard of a rattery. So tell us about that.
The place we got them from, she's a really good breeder. Her place is actually called Moo Moo Rattery, Moomoo, Rattery. And it's a place where she breeds rats, and she takes great care of them, and she finds specific rats and pairs them together. Sure, she focuses on temperament to make sure they have the perfect temperament. She doesn't go find random rats out in the sewer or something and then breed them.
Yes.
I think that's what people are afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, a really common myth is people think that rats carry the plague and a bunch of diseases like that. But when you find a reputable breeder like Moo Moo Rattery, their rats are really healthy. But most people, when they think rats are really disgusting and unhealthy and carry diseases, it's because they see all these pictures on the internet of rats in the sewers or out on the street, wild rats.
But these are domestic rats that have been bred specifically for their health and temperament. Kylie, can you tell me, are there different types of breeds of rats?
There's a type breed, I think, breeds of rats where what I have, and they have softer coats than most rats.
Is it called a mink?
I think they're Silvermane rats. Most rats, they're pretty soft, but Silvermane rats are especially soft.
Speaking about coats and types of rats and things, how many colors can rats come in? I'm assuming a lot.
Hundreds.
What?
Yeah, most people see these little like gray or black rats from the sewers and streets and stuff, but actually there's like different patterns and stuff. Hooded rats, I'm guessing that's like a pattern and it kind of looks like they have a hood.
Uh-huh.
But there's also different cape rats. Like they look like they have a cape on them.
Okay.
And there's different patterns and like that. A little fact about the rats, that my 4 rats, all 4 of them, well, actually 3 out of 4 of them, they are all black coated.
Okay.
Like they all have black coats. And I say, my rats' names are Dumbo, Ash, Jupiter, and Puff. And
I like it. Creative.
Me too.
Yeah. So Jupiter and Puff, they actually, I can't even tell the difference between them without first glance, because they both have all black, and they're both all black until you look at their chests / tummies and stuff, because Jupiter has like a kind of like a star white spot on his chest, and then Puff has his like whole tummy's kind of white. That's the only way I can tell the difference. But Dumbo and Ash, like Dumbo, the only way I can tell the difference between him and the others are his big ears.
Okay.
And then Ash, he has a different coat color, and it's more like agouti, I think it's what it's called. And it's kind of a mixture of, it's layered almost. So 3 different colors. It's kind of a yellowy, brownish type of thing.
Sounds
So
beautiful.
he is. At first, like, I used to not be the biggest fan of agouti colored, and then it just grew on me.
Yeah.
Well, I
So-
appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. So, Kylie, let me ask you this. We have 4 rats. Are they all the same sex? Like, obviously, we wouldn't males and females together who aren't neutered or spayed. Can all 4 females get along, or all 4 male rats get along?
Actually, all 4 of mine are all boys. If say you were to have 2 girl rats and 2 boy rats, you would have to get 2 different cages and put both girls in one cage and then both boys in the other cage. They cannot be housed together if they're not fixed, because then they will try to have babies. And if you don't separate them after they do have babies, they don't stop breeding. Like one rat just gave birth. A week later, it's pregnant again.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
That's why, and that's not good for the rats. Like that's not healthy for them. So that's why, if you are a reputable rat breeder, once you breed them, you got to give the mom some alone time almost with a girl only, and you can't keep them, the male and female, together, or
Right.
else they will try to have babies again.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
needs to recover.
Yeah.
Let me go back to this. So your 4 boys are siblings. They all came from the same litter.
Yes.
And what is the average number of rats in a litter, babies?
I think it can be anything between 1 to, I think even like, I'm not really sure, but I think up to 6
Uh-huh.
rats,
Okay.
possibly.
But
maybe
maybe
even
3 or
more.
4 is the average.
Yeah, I'd say 3, 4, maybe 5.
You said that yours were a product of kind of an accident, right? That a
Yeah.
male and female got together. So is it easy to tell if they're a boy or a girl, or does it take an expert to be able to tell? Because we talked to other people about other species of animals, and they say it's hard to tell sometimes, like, what if it's a male or female tortoise or a male or female. It was the chicks, right, Kathy, when we talked to the chicken lady?
The chicks, yeah, it can be
Yeah.
difficult.
So how do you tell? Is it easy or hard?
Well, it depends if they're fixed. If a male is not fixed, it is pretty easy to tell.
Because he has testicles hanging down?
Yes, they're fixed. It might
Yeah.
be more difficult, but
Yeah.
since ours, because most people don't fix their rats, because smaller animals being fixed, it's more likely to have complications and stuff because they're so tiny. it's harder
Right.
to operate on them.
The smaller animals are difficult with anesthesia and surgery. And so I think it's probably best to you make sure you keep your boys and your girls separate. I don't see a lot of spay or neuters of rats. If you have rats, you really want to see a veterinarian that specializes in these types of animals.
Yeah, like exotic. That's what we have.
Right.
They specialize in exotic pets. They have plenty of experience with exotic pets, although we do not really bring the rats to the vets unless, there's like a health problem and we notice there's like symptoms.
Is that typical with rats and I don't know, maybe other small rodents that you kind of bring them to the vet on an as needed basis versus like a dog or a cat, which may need an annual or twice a year checkup, for vaccines and just overall health and that sort of thing?
I think it depends on the person and the owner, but with us, we only do it as needed basis. Like if they were like heaven, God forbid, they were ended up being sick. And actually with rats, they are way more likely to get sick because they're so small. That's why you got to make sure, like, if you were to have any other pets in the house, like my cats, you got to make sure you either keep them completely away or make sure they have absolutely no sicknesses that the rats could catch.
So they're kind of vulnerable based on their size.
Since they're very tiny.
Do they freak out? Like if they see or smell the cats, do they, innately feel that they may be threatened, or because they've grown up with the cats in the household, it doesn't bother them?
Oh, actually, funny story. My cat Comet, their names are Comet and Blitzen. And so I know everybody laughs when I hear that. I have my door closed and stuff like that, and all the time, right? And then I was like, because the cats kept waiting at my door and they wanted to go in, I decided one day to test. I brought Blitzen in my room one day, and I was very cautious. I sat at the very end of my bed away from the rats, and I just held him to make sure. And Blitzen, he was very tense and stuff. He thought they were toys for him or something. So I was like, I think I'm just going to keep Blitzen out. But Comet, when I brought him in, he was curious. He like lifted up his head a little bit, tilted his head a little bit and stuff. But I tried it, like maybe a couple more days, a couple more times. And then he started calming down way more and being way less sketchy and stuff with them. So I decided to experiment. I let Comet go. Like I was still like had my hand on his back to make sure just in case he tried to run, I could grab him. I let him walk around my bed. He got pretty close to the cage. He like looked around. And then after a while of him being in there, he just laid down and fell asleep.
Aww.
And he's totally fine. He loves looking at them and he's totally chill.
Always supervised.
Yeah, always.
So how did the rats react? Like, were they hiding or were they curious about the cats in the room?
Well, actually, when I first laid down with him closer to up to the top of my bed, closer to the rats came right over to this end of the cage, closest to Comet, and then started sniffing the air. And they're like, what is that? And they love sniffing the air and just like watching Comet.
I think that, first of all, I didn't realize this cage was in your room. So more power to you there. And secondly, I think it's always tricky when you're intermingling any, different species, even like dogs and cats, right? But many dogs and cats live together. I have done a sport called Happy Ratters where they put a rat in a PVC tube with air holes and things, and the dogs are supposed to sniff them out. And people worry that the rats are very stressed by this. But again, they've been trained and they know they're safe in that tube, and everybody, is watching. So like the dog doesn't shake the tube or, bat it around or anything like that. And they're perfectly content. That's their role. So, I think that you can make things work if you prepare, you're smart about it, you do your research and so forth. And that kind of brings me to the next topic of like enrichment, because I'm sure that the rat smelling the cat was pretty enriching, but do you do like games with them, or how do you challenge their brains?
That's actually a pretty good topic because you can do so many things with them. I have plenty of, say, their beds. they're like kind of small hammock. They're decently small and they hang from the top of the cage, and the rat, that's where I told you in the beginning, like they like to pile up
Yep.
on each other, like head over. Sometimes I walk in and I see them like all snuggling in one hammock. And along with all those at the top of the cage, there's plenty of toys and little things for them to chew on. And there's little bridges and ropes and stuff hanging in case they were to fall from the top of the cage all the way down to the bottom. One of the little things hanging along all around will catch them so they don't, get hurt or anything.
Mhm.
And then there's plenty of things hanging off on ledges almost on the side of the cage so they can climb on it and to get to their water bottles and water bowls and stuff. Their hands are really small and their claws are very tiny. So their claws are really sharp. But since they're so tiny, you cannot clip them like you could with a cat or a dog. We have these ledges that they like to go on underneath the water bottles, and it's called lava ledges, where they can walk on them, and it like kind of files their nails a little bit when they walk on it.
Because if you try to clip a rat's nails, no matter how docile they are, I'm imagining what you're saying. Like they're so tiny, you could literally cut off their entire toe versus just the nail.
Yeah, I can't even hold their paws still because they're so crazy and like to run around. But when I do, their paw is literally the size, maybe even smaller than my thumbnail. And my hand's not that big.
Yeah, you're only 11.
Imagine their paw being the size of your thumbnail, and their toes are very tiny, right? How small do you think their claws are?
Right.
They're like tiny little needles.
Right.
You're so emphatic and passionate about this. I love it.
Kylie, let me ask you this. I'm really interested to know, do your rats recognize you when you come in? Do they get excited? And
oh yeah, actually, rats can recognize you as their owners. They can smell you because they have very good sense, like a smell. Another enrichment thing, actually, is sometimes once we're done cleaning their cage, we hide Cheerios, which are they love Cheerios and different other types of treats all around in their hammocks and all around hidden in like little pockets and stuff. And then they sniff them out and find them.
Foraging. Yeah. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually called foraging. And then they can, so that's how they know you, from their sense of smell. But they actually have they're really short-sighted. They don't have very good vision. They can see something that's right in front of them, but they can't see 10 feet away.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How's their hearing?
Their hearing is also amazing. Because their little ears are like little funnels. Kind of.
That's the perfect way to describe it. It really is.
They're actually kind of like shaped kind of more like, so they're more rounded almost. So they're like shaped kind of like funnels. So imagine instead of your flat ears having, how dogs and cats have like those pointy ears. That's kind of how it is for the rats, except for Dumbo, which I bet his hearing is even better because his ears are so big and so round almost that it's like the sounds bounce around inside his little head.
And how do they communicate with you, Kylie? Do they have certain sounds or noises that they make with you?
Actually, they're really like surprisingly quiet. Unless they're, they start play fighting, they tell each other. If it's like getting too rough for them, they squeak a tiny little bit, just like a tiny bit. And that's how the other rat that's like pinning them down or playing with them or something knows to be gentler and stuff. But with humans, it's more of like body language. Also, rats, they don't bite that much. Like with a hamster or something, sorry to anybody who loves hamsters, but with like hamsters, they like sometimes bite a bunch. But with rats, they're so gentle. Like if you were to get a rat, you could have like not too young, but a pretty young child, like maybe 5 or 6 year old, and the having a 5 or 6 year old handling them or something. And the rats will not bite them unless either, first of all, they think you have food, or if your hand smells like food, sometimes they mistake it for food and they decided to take a little nibble. Or if you're hurting them or they think they're in like actual danger, then like in order to defend themselves, they might like take a little nibble of your finger because they feel threatened. Otherwise, they're very gentle.
What kind of foods do rats eat? What would they eat for their normal diet? And what are you giving them as treats sometimes? I know you give Cheerios, but can they eat other things? Can they eat fruits or vegetables?
Oh, actually, they have a wide range of like things they can eat, way more than, say, a guinea pig, cat, or dog. We have pellet foods almost, and some people, they would give them to their rats as like regular food, and that's what it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be nice and nutritious, but we just use that as treats. Their actual food it's called Little Heroes Rat Foraging Mix, and it's like a mixture of seeds, nuts, oats, rice grains, mealworms, different herbs and pastas, even veggies, fruit, like dried veggies and fruits and cereals. And I give them like a little scoop of that every single morning for their breakfast. And I have shavings for bedding, like say wood chips. Some people have fleece and stuff for their rats, but that could get really stinky. So we have like, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 inches deep in the bottom of the cage filled with shavings. So I take this scoop and I fill it up with their forage mix and I sprinkle it all along the bottom of their cage, and they dig around finding the little pieces of that.
Because they even say with dogs and such that we're doing a disservice by feeding them in their bowls, that, a lot of animals in the wild and by instinct were foragers. And, when you talk about like the rats being able to eat anything, that's probably what speaks to their survival. And we were talking about the sewer rats and stuff. I can't imagine. I mean, they're eating, garbage and stuff on the streets, but they're surviving and thriving. So I bet when they eat this mix, it sounds delicious. They're very, very happy. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that you use the pellets as treats and things. I think that we could do a lot better with our dog and cat friends by feeding them differently as well.
They have a different type of thing I give them every night for their dinner. It's not that foraging mix. It's not any type of foraging mix. It's like a little, like I take a paper plate normally, and I take kale, like a little handful of kale, and put it on a paper plate. And then I take my mom, the best mom ever. She's kind enough to make where it's like a mixture of like leftover food that we've had that's safe for rats. We put it in like our leftovers in the containers, puts it in the freezer. And every night I just take it and I put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds, and it thaws enough, and I put it on top of the kale with all that nice mixed like vegetables and like fruits and stuff like that. And I put it on top of their food, on their kale, and then I give it to them. And sometimes we even sometimes we have meats, different kinds of meats in their dinner. And rats always, it's like their instinct almost to go to find the most protein filled and most like fatty type of food. Because, out in the wild, they want to be full. And in order to be full, since food is sometimes hard to come by, they go for the most filling foods and like with protein and like that type of stuff, and it's their instinct. So whenever we have meat, in most of the time in their containers, when we put it on top of their kale and put it in the cage, they immediately go digging and finding the meat and protein stuff, and then go run away with it to eat it. One time we tested out, since rats can have bones of animals as well. One time we got like chicken wings. Once I was done eating, I put it in the cage for them to, just eat off the bone, eat the rest of the meat off the bone, and then they can eat the bone itself. And you know what they did? Immediately, Ash is the most, Ash acts like the boss, kind of. So he immediately grabbed it and started pulling it across the cage and trying to keep it away from his brothers because he thought it was all for him. And they kept playing basically tug of war with it. They were like
Mm.
trying to pull it to their corner of the cage, like, no, this is mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. And they like kept like pulling it away from each other. And it was really fun to watch because they weren't fighting over it. They were just kind of, taking it away from each other.
I'm going to kind of pivot here a little bit. How long do rats typically live?
Compared to most other animals, like say, like some animals live to 10, 12, maybe even 20 years for a cat, and guinea pigs live to up to 8 years. Compared to them, rats actually only live like from 2 to 4 years.
Oh, that's not very long.
Yeah, it's sadly not very long, but they know how to make their life the best life ever. So they're really great buddies for the time you have them. It's just sad that they don't live for too long.
You said they know how to make the best lives for themselves, but boy, you are really contributing to their best lives, Kylie. All the things that you're describing that you do. And, one question I was going to ask you, because you were talking about bringing the cats into your room, but then you said that you were on the couch with two of them. So they can come out of your room, and can they be trusted? Can you put them on the floor? Will they run away and hide? How does that look?
Actually, rats love their cage. Like say I wouldn't take them out and just put them on my bedroom floor for like the first like couple weeks I got them, because they didn't learn where their home was at that time. But once, a couple weeks after we got them, they learned that's their home. That's when I trust them out on my floor and stuff.
Because they'll go back to their cage on their own.
They love their home, so they decide, hey, just like when I had the guinea pigs, they both like loved to run back to their home. No matter where I put the guinea pigs in the house, I could put them all the way in the kitchen, and they would find their way back to the home. Rats are like kind of exactly like that, because they find their home no matter where they are.
That's great.
I would trust them in the rest of the house, but the only things I don't trust are the cats, especially Blipsy.
Yeah.
Because their toys are out all the way across the floor, and we play with them on the floor and stuff. So they might think, both of them, Comet's good when the rats are in the cage. I trust him. But when the rats are out, that's a totally different story. It looks like a toy. Look, that thing's definitely for me, right? So I don't trust the cats if I were to let them out. That's why whenever I like chill like on the couch, I make sure I find where both the cats are. I'm like, okay, the cats are really sleepy today. I'm going to take the rats out and only on the couch. Because our couch cushions have like little creases in them. I use like a bed sheet. Like we never really use those sheets that you put over your bed. We use like, bed sheets, but those little liners that are like basically a mini blanket.
Yeah.
We don't use those. So I decide to put those on the couch whenever I take them out on the couch. Because I trust them, but I don't really trust myself not to let them go on the couch.
So they could have accidents, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I just feel safer when I have something covering the creases and stuff. But I only let them out on the couch, nowhere else, because the cats and stuff.
Right. Yeah. So, Chris and Kylie, as we're kind of getting to the end of the show here, I'm wondering, Kylie, what's the one thing you want every rat owner to know, or someone who's thinking about getting a rat as a pet? What's that one thing we need to know?
I wouldn't really recommend them as first time pet, because since they're cage cleaning, I change out their hammocks twice a week. Once during the full cage clean and once in the middle of the week, just changing out the hammocks. But every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, my mom or my grandma helps me out to clean the entire cage, where we take all the shavings out of the bottom of the cage, and we take out all the hammocks, put in fresh new hammocks, put in fresh new shavings, and once a month you're supposed to take everything out: hammocks, shavings, enrichment toys, and then put everything else in, and it's totally new to them. So it's a lot of work cleaning their cage, but also with rats, they need plenty of time out of the cage, at least an hour out of the cage every single day.
So it's a lot of responsibility, a lot of commitment.
Yeah, but another thing that I would recommend for like first time pet owners, if you were to do lots of research with them, and they are very good with children, and with rats, they're very calm and easygoing. They will or bite you is if they think they are in danger, or if you smell they think you have food for them. They're pretty good with children.
Let me ask you this, because rats are part of the rodent family, which means rodentia, like their teeth continue to grow, right? Isn't that what defines them? And you
Yeah.
mentioned something earlier about chewing. So do you have to provide them with specific types of toys and things to chew on to keep their teeth under control? Is that an issue?
Yes, kind of. We get like these little things to hang from their cage, and sometimes they have nuts on them. So the rats can chew on that in order to get the food out of it. And there's plenty of sticks and like wood stuff for them to chew on. They have plenty of toys and like chew toys to chew on.
So it's manageable.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, like, when you let them out of their enclosure, would they start chewing on the couch or, go for a wood leg of a chair or something like that, because
Well,
they have this.
I haven't really had that much experience with it. They haven't really tried to chew the couch, but I don't let them out so they don't really have the opportunity to chew the furniture. So I wouldn't really be 100% on that, but I don't think so. Then another thing about them actually though is I always have like padding or something. So because they can have accidents, their bladders and stuff are very small because they're so small. They can, if they're not boys, especially if they're not like fixed, they might try to mark their territory by peeing on things.
I was
So that's
wondering
why I
about
always
that.
have some sort of something to cover the couch or me or something.
Gotcha. Yeah.
A little towel on your lap.
Yeah. I was when we were talking about like how to know the difference between boys and girls. I was thinking to ask you, do the boys mark, as far as their territory or what have you?
Yeah, just like how dogs like to pee on things to mark their territory, right?
Sure.
Kind of like that.
Exactly.
Ash is over here. He's been with me the entire time on the inside of the cage. He's just sniffing at me, looking at me like, what are we doing?
Which one is it, Ash?
Yeah.
It sounds like he's a brave boy. Like you said, kind of the ringleader.
He's actually the bravest out of all of them. Actually, he likes to adventure the most whenever I take him out. So I actually have, like hair ties, like one of those like bigger hair ties.
Mm-hmm.
My mom helped me tie it together, so there was like 2 little loops in it, and I put his little arms through it, and I have like a rat leash made for rats.
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
clip it onto that, so it's like a harness and leash for him, just in case.
Well, and Kathy, I was thinking, we're talking about their intelligence and things. Aren't they using rats to find people in like disasters? Like,
oh yeah, I've heard of that. Actually, I've seen clips of that. They start training the rats, like scent training and stuff.
Yes.
So they have like, say, a harness or something like that on them, and they go search for in case there's like disaster, like an earthquake or like a fire in a house or something.
Yep.
They train the rats to go find people, and whenever they find somebody, they click a button or something that alerts the person, and then the rat goes to find the person and leads them to the person that found.
Right.
Yeah. Extremely intelligent. Very, very intelligent.
Yeah, I even started training them high five and spin.
Oh,
right. And I think they like it. I think that they really enjoy that type of enrichment where they like learning new tricks and being rewarded for doing those things. And I think, you dispelled a lot of like misconceptions today. I think what we learned is rats are very smart. They enjoy being social. They're clean. That's a misconception that they're not
they
clean.
groom themselves.
Yeah.
Actually,
They're
I remember.
Clean. Yeah.
I think one of you guys asked me about like how often I need to clean them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, with rats, you do not need to bathe them unless you take them to the vet and there's something wrong with their coat, and the vet specifically tells you to clean, like give them a bath or something.
Right.
But other than that, you don't need to clean them because it could get rid of all that healthy oil. There's like
Mm.
oils covering their
Right.
fur that's really healthy, and if you take that away, it can make them more prone to being sick.
Yeah.
Mm.
So it's actually a terrible idea to groom them or clean them because they groom themselves like cats.
Do you have to
almost.
brush them?
No.
I mean, I know you love your rats, but I think a lot of people get skeeved out by the rat tail. How does that feel? I mean, can you dispel that myth? What do people find so offensive about their tails?
I don't know. I think they just think it looks gross or something. But
Because it doesn't have hair?
it does not have hair. It's kind of, when you feel it, it kind of feels almost like scaly.
Yeah.
Not slimy
Yeah.
like a snake, but like scaly like a snake. Kind of like that.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha. This has just been fascinating, Kylie. We've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. Can you believe it?
I can actually.
You were ready. We're going to have to
You-
whittle this down or maybe make it 2
Yeah.
shows.
You did a great job. I think we learned a lot about rats today.
Yes, yes. And you hold the record for the youngest guest, and we really appreciate your knowledge. I learned a lot. I know our audience will learn a lot. And I also had reached out, and your mom told me that you guys used a couple of great websites and a YouTube channel to learn about the rats in advance, like what you needed to do. One is out of the UK, and you learned about nutrition and ideas about how to provide the full and enriched lives. And then a YouTube channel. And do you know how you pronounce that, Kylie? Emiology?
I think it is emiology.
Yeah. Where there are videos about setting up their enclosures and, how to prep for them and so forth. So, your mom, Lindsay, said that many of the resources out there are outdated. So these are 2 current, great resources that we will put on in our show notes at the end of the show for people to check out too. So beyond your great knowledge, they can use those websites and YouTube channels as well. So awesome.
Thank you for being here, Kylie. And I love your enthusiasm about your pet rats. It's wonderful. It comes through really strong and very warm about how much you love your rats.
Yes. As Kathy said, thank you very much for being here, and we will be in touch. Your show will go live soon, so we'll let you know when that happens. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed our show.
Follow us on social media at Petability Podcast.
And please check out our affiliates and sponsors.
Simply go to the show notes for information and links.
Thank you and tune in next time.